Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone podcast. My name is Kathy. This episode is intended to provide you with an update, an overview regarding the status of unsealing of documents in the extremely, in my opinion, sealed case of Idaho versus Kohberger. That case was active for over 2.5 years. From the 29th of December 2022 through its closure on the 23rd of July 2026, when Mr. Kohberger was sentenced and taken to the Idaho State Prison located just outside of Boise. However, unlike other cases that could be completely closed at that time, there was the matter of the multiple documents under seal that were under seal because the state and the defense, and sometimes together in a stipulation, filed a motion to seal documents, including crucially evidence that would have, according to the state of Idaho, proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Kohberger and Mr. Kohberger alone was the sole and the correct defendant responsible for the catastrophic events that happened at 1122 King Road on November 13th, 2022, in the capital case. The court announced that there would be a process by which the court would look at documents from the end of the case and going backwards to the beginning of the case. And there was a written process that was announced with the first court order that went to the parties in August of 2025 and asked the parties for their objections or non-objections to the unsealing of documents for the months of June and July. And both parties did, and certain documents from those 2 months were unsealed. Next, the court entered a second order dealing with documents, same process, April and May of 2025, and thereafter certain documents from those 2 months were unsealed to the public. In both of the orders, the court did decide to keep certain documents sealed completely from public disclosure. Then it appeared, for some reason, there was a wall that was hit when it came to the third court order that was rendered back on October 16th, 2025, again asking both sides for their objections or non-objections to the unsealing, this time of documents for the first quarter of 2025, January, February, and March. It took the court longer than with the first two orders to render his order, deciding and announcing which documents would be unsealed to the public. That order was entered December 18th, 2025. There are 90 documents that appear in that court order that were scheduled to be unsealed. Section A, page 1, were the documents that were to be unsealed with no redactions. Section C stated the documents that would be unsealed, but with redactions. If you were to look at the Ada County website, you would see an announcement that says, request for sealed court orders. The court is in process of reviewing sealed orders and documents. This will be a lengthy process, and all unsealed documents will be released as they are approved. All unsealed documents will be placed on the Cases of Interest webpage. And the title of this announcement is State versus Brian C. Kohberger. Although the court has announced here that unsealed documents, and all of them, will be placed on the Cases of Interest webpage as they are approved, 89 of the documents that were approved for unsealing on December 18th, 2025, still remain under seal as of this date. There has been no details as to why it is that it is taking so long to unseal the approved documents from January, February, and March of 2025. And if you were to look at these documents, this is where all the briefings for the motions in limine occurred. So things that are under seal, for example, in February and March of 2025, you're going to see either a motion, a response, or a reply to such motions in limine as number 12, make and model of suspect vehicle 1. Number 9, excluding Amazon click activity at trial. Number 7, witness identification by bushy eyebrows. Number 6, reference to touch and contact DNA. And then there's others that deal with IgG, DNA evidence, and also AT&T timing advance records. Very difficult to think of something more hotly contested than the matter of IgG DNA or the AT&T timing advance records. There's been no details from the court, either on the court docket or on the Ada County website, explaining why it is that it is taking so long to release these documents. And by the way, there has not yet been a court order number 4 in the sequence that would take matters into the end of 2024, where there are some very interesting documents under seal, such as the under seal evidence that the defense had produced in an attempt to obtain a Franks hearing challenging various warrant affidavits, and all of the motions to suppress evidence that the defense filed. All of these motions were denied by Judge Stephen J. Hippler. That's what the fourth court order, still not filed, would be directed toward, as well as other matters that were litigated at the end of 2024. Now, there was a document that was released onto the court docket on the 12th of March. This was actually a court order that was signed by Judge Hippler on March 10th, but for some reason, it didn't hit the court docket until the 12th. And it explained that there was a total of 5 documents that apparently had been scheduled for release out of this third batch of documents pursuant to that October 16th, 2025 court order that Judge Hippler had decided needed to be redacted. But if you were to look at the docket today, so far the only item from that first quarter of 2025 that were released in February of 2026 were under seal records having to do with the defense's March 2025 response to the state of Idaho's motion in limine regarding text messages. There has been no explanation at all why it was that that document was released to the public while the other 89 are still under seal. We will continue to keep you posted as matters develop regarding the unsealing of these 89 documents. Thank you for joining us here today.